Hi everyone, it's Nigel Giam here, the lead GP training program director for the St Mary's Scheme and course director for Mentor Med Education and Mentor MRCGP. I'm so happy to have Fatima. I've been waiting to interview Fatima for some time because
Likewise.
we oh fantastic because you've just had a most fantastic result in the SCA, passed it first time, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to dissect that apart, but maybe just for the audience, a bit of intro as to where you're at with your training and how you are.
Well, I am great currently.
Good.
First and foremost, thank you so much for having me.
No,
I
pleasure.
have been equally looking forward to this because I feel everyone should know about this now.
Oh.
We should get you out there really because I can't think of anything. I mean, I wouldn't have done anything different really. But going back to your question, my introduction to GP land wasn't linear at all. So I did a lot of hospital medicine beforehand. And of course, I am an IMG. I'm Dubai born and raised. So I swapped the dunes for the English
Oh
countryside.
dear, I want to
So,
go to Dubai right now. Why? Anyway,
well,
yes. Okay. So,
but honestly, I figured out that I definitely wanted some form of connection and continuity with
yeah,
care, and general practice seemed like the right bet. However, it wasn't smooth sailing.
no.
After two unsuccessful AKT attempts, I decided very boldly, probably slightly unhinged in terms of decision making, but I decided to do the AKT and SCA back to back.
Right.
And somehow miraculously that really worked.
Fantastic.
And yeah, now for the first time in a very long time, I'm actually enjoying general practice.
Really glad to hear. I'm really glad to hear.
I mean, it was hoops to jump through,
Yeah.
but I really feel like it's the start of a really beautiful journey.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear this because obviously general practice faces so many challenges for those going through training and post training. But one of the big hurdles, obviously, for trainees is this burden of exams, or more specifically, I suppose, exam failure.
Hmm.
It just sits like a big cloud, doesn't it? It just sits there on top of your shoulders. And obviously, tonight we're going to be talking about your SCA success first time, which actually, to be honest, is no easy feat because when you've been trained in hospital, as a lot of us have been, this exam just turns everything on its head, doesn't it?
It really.
And I think there are just so many mixed messages out there. So maybe we can explore that. Let's break it down into terms of data gathering and what you kind of learned from the course, because I know when you texted me, you kind of said, that first hour was quite daunting. And maybe you can explain to the audience what was kind of daunting about it and what you took away from it.
So it was primarily that, of course, there's always a lot of support when it comes to the education bit that you get through the week. But I felt as though I always had this passing statement of, "Oh, you'll be fine. You've been
Yeah,
doing this. You've been consulting for many years.
yeah,
It's no different." And of course, that amalgamated with to a certain extent, the training program almost boxing up the whole process. So
yeah,
it not really um, allowing for that sort of open thinking. And
yeah,
then I heard about the course
yeah,
because I was nervous, and for some reason I just didn't want to believe all of that.
yeah,
That first hour with you, hour and a half actually, I was nervous. It was daunting because for the first time I felt like someone understood and was acknowledging what
yeah,
I was thinking.
yeah.
And I kid you not, I almost thought of, "Oh, should I just stop this now because I'm getting really scared?" Because it's coming to reality.
Yeah.
And I guess I wish I had that earlier, but you know, never too late.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone appreciates the tough love that Nigel
Yes.
Giam dispenses in the end, I'm
Oh
afraid to
God,
say.
yes.
So. But yes, it is a bit of tough love. So let's break it down. Data gathering. If you had to tell somebody out there who's sitting imminently in May, resitting in September, what are the game changers there for you?
Your two big words, strategy
Yeah.
and of course, battle plan.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you do not go in to this scenario without having some form of a battle plan,
Yeah.
which means that those first 3 minutes are crucial.
Mm,
I realized that there was no winging the case
no,
at all.
no.
If you didn't do that work, or at least have a bit of an idea of what might be expected, you could easily just snowball yourself.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the actors really try to
They do.
help.
They do.
They're not just props, they
Yeah.
are really a big part of the narrative.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. They try to pull you back,
Yeah.
but it's only if you make it easy for them.
Exactly.
So then go in with a bit of strategy, um, address ICE early,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then you've set your agenda,
Yeah.
you've set the tone for the entire
Yeah.
discussion,
Brilliant.
and you're not chasing something aimlessly.
Oh, I love this because this is the problem. I suppose the way we've all been trained at medical school is symptom differential.
Right.
That's how clinical exams work, don't they? And I think the interesting thing is people see this as a clinical skills assessment, but it isn't really actually. It's
It's
it's very
narrative.
much
It's all
about
about the
tapping into
narrative.
the narrative. It's essentially a high challenge communication skills assessment with obviously clinical skills running alongside.
Sure.
But if you don't actually open up the patient's narrative and their cues and their eyes, you will be chasing your tail. You will snowball very quickly. So that's such an important point for those of you going in to May, June, the autumn. The cases that you pick have to showcase that narrative, I think, because I think in study groups, the easy thing is let's pick a clinical case, let's do cardiology, let's do dermatology. And it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in this exam, unfortunately.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, of course, when it comes to things to deal with an IMG's journey, I feel like it's very different. I don't know if I'm overstepping here, but I feel like when it comes to IMG's preparing together,
Mm,
it's a double-edged sword.
yeah,
Um, the way medical school or training has been for us, it's very clinically driven.
mm,
You're now in this vast arena of a narrative-driven exam
yeah,
where you have to equally showcase that you can relate,
yeah,
you can be approachable,
yeah,
but also have that clinical acumen.
yes,
And I think it's wonderful
yeah,
is you're tapping into everything in medicine. And I
yeah,
guess it is only GP training where you actually tap into the psychosocial aspect
yes,
of a patient's journey.
yeah,
And as an IMG, I mean, speaking for myself, I feel like I'm a slightly emotional person.
mm,
I use a lot of body language,
yeah,
but I don't know if that's true for all of us.
yeah.
And I think that could potentially be a challenge.
Yes, and I think it is about allowing those emotions to
It's
come
come
out
out.
actually, really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, you're smiling, you're so happy, and I know you were such fun on the course as well. So we knew that there's energy that we can kind of tap into, and maybe we'll come to that in terms of relating to
Yeah.
others. So big messages here, guys. Know your place in the patient's narrative. Be interested, be curious about ICE. Listen to the role player. They will try and bring you back. They will always try through cues, but make it easy for them because they can only try so much, twice actually. And then if you don't, pick that lifeline, you'll snowball out of effect. Let's go to clinical management. How did you approach that? What are your game changers for that?
So, I think the challenge was amalgamating the narrative and the communication
Yeah,
together. I think one thing that really stood out in the course was you don't have to necessarily um, order around. It's a
yeah,
very simple thing of I remember when I was practicing
yeah,
with the other trainees, it was almost like signposting management plans,
yeah,
where rather than telling someone,
yeah,
oh, you know what, I heard you mention that you've smoked and you never
yeah,
liked that because your dad used to smoke.
yeah,
You think you need any help
yeah,
with
yeah,
stopping?
yeah,
And that almost
yeah.
changes the way the actor looks at you.
I know, right?
They feel involved and
I love this.
you
Yeah.
feel like you've gotten through to them.
Yes, because it's tapped into something that's meaningful to them
Exactly.
rather than the motions of how much do you smoke? Have you thought about stopping? It's like,
Yeah.
well, well, I wasn't really here to talk about that. I mean, yes, it's probably relevant, of course, to the case, but the way it's been presented now is out of context. It's tick box. It's not really tapping into the patient's agenda or relating it to their agenda. So that's so important. Managing really the patient before the diagnosis, their narrative before the symptom. Um, if we maybe think about relating to others, you've already mentioned this aspect of energy, which I just think it's so important because I've just come off a really another tough love masterclass today, and a lot of people that came on they're all resitting in a couple of weeks, so their energy was quite low. And I think if you go in with that, oh, such an unfair exam, I can't believe I have to do it again, which I understand, but everyone feeds off that kind of flat energy quite quickly. Now we know you're very animated as a person. How did you play to strengths, especially if you have to say no actually to patients, which you often have to do in the SCA? How do you play to strengths with that one?
It's a lot of negotiating, and it's a negotiation in the sense of addressing that you're in, well, your favorite word, a dilemma.
Love
And
it.
knowing that
Yeah.
that is genuinely a golden word. I think the last few days of practice, for some reason, my brain didn't want to comprehend the word dilemma. And
Yeah.
then there were a few dilemma cases, and I used the word, and I kid you not, it didn't feel like a fight.
No,
It didn't feel like a battle.
no, it
It
doesn't.
felt like, I feel like the actors understood that, yes, you've been heard.
Yeah,
You're addressing that this is an issue,
yeah.
but can we find a way out together?
Love it. I
Yeah.
love it. It's so good. I love it, because there's always a way forward. Even when people are facing a reset of the SCA, there's always a way forward through this if you've got the right battle plan and strategy. Fatima, I am literally so happy for you because when you sent me, I remember just looking back at our WhatsApp messages, you were quite distraught with the AKT, and I remember you sort of came to me and go, oh,
Yes.
but actually, and I appreciate, we do have a bit of a tough love reputation, but we have fun as well.
Oh, we do. I
You know,
will never forget that
I will never forget either. We won't spoil it. We won't spoil it for the audience. If you
Yes,
want to
we
find
will
out what
not,
Fatima
please.
did on the course, you can come on the course and find out. But it was really, really funny.
It
And
was.
so we had a lot of fun on the course. What are the plans now? When are you due to CCT?
In August, so it's very close.
Wow.
And feeding back into what you said, especially with those who are resitting, of course, I'm not in their place, but I do understand where it comes from because I had to do it twice, of course, not with the SCA, but with the
Yeah.
AKT,
Yeah.
and I do understand that it's tough,
Yeah.
because you have to continue doing what you have to do, whether it's going, back to work, going for
Yeah.
teaching stuff, going for
Yeah.
Thursday or Wednesday
Yeah.
teachings, it hurts.
It hurts.
But
And it also hurts, I suppose, the ones around you because they can see you're kind of
you can
suffering with
exactly.
it. If you've got kids, spouses, they're like, oh,
It,
please,
it just bounces off everyone.
Yeah,
I
that's right.
think it's a lot of perseverance, and it's doable. You just need the right game plan. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. So, August coming around the corner
Yes.
and job lined up. What's the plan?
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah? No
Yeah.
Dubai bling, not going back there?
Well, I actually decided, well, interestingly, we had life after GPST3 session today.
Okay,
And when someone asked, oh, does anyone have any plans? I immediately say, yeah, I'm having a sabbatical. And that's my exit strategy from
good.
here on.
Why not? Enjoy
Yes,
it.
and
Enjoy
enjoy
it.
it. I agree.
Oh, well, look, Fatima, once again, congratulations. GP is such a small world. Lovely to have you past all these barriers. Promise to keep in touch.
I will.
Anything I can
Yes.
do to help? As
Thank
always,
you so
here for
much
you.
for having me. And yes, anyone considering the masterclass, this is not a course. This is a shift in your mindset. I am not being asked by Dr. Giam to say this, I promise, but I feel like you didn't just let me walk away prepared for the exam. I've been using it in daily life, and if
Oh,
it's any consolation, my trainer has seen it.
absolutely fantastic.
So there's definitely, empathy, clarity, confidence, and I guess that's what you need going forward.
Absolutely. We all could do with some of that moving forwards in GP. Thank you so much. And what a,
You're
what a
very
kind thing
welcome.
to say. Fatima, you take care and thank you
I
so much
will.
for coming on. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you.